Fantastic, lots of food for thought there. But we should move on to our next headliner, who is here to discuss, the topic is unleashing the power of data and AI to drive business value and innovation. Our next speaker has expertise in machine learning, deep learning, data-intensive applications, web and mobile app development, and software and enterprise architecture. He is going to be presenting on the topic I just outlined, and he is the Vice President of Data and AI for the ALDO Group. Please give a big round of applause and welcome to the stage, Fatih Nayebi.
Hi there. I am absolutely delighted to be with you today. Maybe a wrong generation, that was Fiona. So let me just change to French. Bonjour à tous, merci d'être ici. I'm super happy to be with you and talking about my experience at ALDO and what I teach at McGill University. So, I guess you know ALDO. We are a global, shoe and apparel company, and we own stores and the e-com in United States and Canada. We do everything from the design to production, logistics, supply chain, and we also have franchisees all across the globe, so more than 100 countries. We have a lot of data, so that's amazing. And at ALDO, we have a data and AI office that I lead. Within that, we have data governance and privacy. We have data analytics platform, engineering and architecture of everything. We have products, because we do everything from the product's perspective. So every data, AI, insights that we create are packaged as products. And then finally, we have the AI team that does machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, and also operations research. And we work with a lot of very good partners, including Ivado Labs and Retail Lodges, that some of them are here, actually. Thank you very much for coming by. Yeah, and then also I'm a teacher at McGill University. Just need to, maybe. I teach enterprise data science, machine learning in production, as well as 2 deep learning courses, foundations and theories of deep learning, and then applications and architectures of deep learning. Most businesses are not patient with AI. We expect AI to quickly master learning, sharpen decisions, and drive actions. And obviously, AI has an impact on human beings. There might be some existential risks. There might be also not trusting AI because of the interpretability. Some of the AI systems are not inherently interpretable. And we always ask, is it actually a buzz or a hype? And are we going to be looking at another AI winter? There are also some of maybe the products, vendors, that they always have these discussions around buy versus the build, and then makes people uncomfortable for waiting for the results, to see some results as quickly, because those platforms or applications are already there, maybe doing things. To ensure that we can get past that impatience and bring value, quick wins are super important. That low-hanging fruits that they can bring tangible business benefits, specifically with AI. But instead of just using AI as a system that we could apply to any type of problem, we should really think about the real business problems, the ones that we can solve with any type of system or technology, including any type of AI. So when we talk about AI, I know that you're hearing a lot about generative AI, But also, it's important to not neglect predictive and prescriptive type of AI and also automation altogether. We need to bring our own research mindset to ensure that we find the right business problem and the problem statement that we want to solve, and we can solve with AI. Next, we need to ensure that we can find some easy-to-implement use cases. Some of the use cases are always harder to implement because they require more of the data, or they need different types of technologies, or you need to have combinations of different types of models. So it's important to have the mindset of finding a business problem that you could solve it easily, at least to start with, because we are impatient to achieve results with AI. We also need to start by experimenting. And while we're experimenting, it's important to extract and use a production-level data. So obviously, you need to maybe anonymize it, make it such that you cannot infer a lot of information out of it. But using data that is not production level, which is maybe dev or test, is not going to be sufficient for doing anything AI. We should be using, and these are based on my experience and might be a bit opinionated, by using existing pre-built AI models and fully managed machine learning services. There are quite a few different libraries that they're very high level, and they do provide a lot of goodies for us to do. Using those is going to accelerate making things happen. If you're on a specific cloud provider, there are always vision-related APIs, or there are already existing large language models that you could use instead of building everything from the scratch. Next, we should ensure that we build some models, preliminary initial models, to test the idea, the potential of the idea, and also the feasibility of making that happen. For that, we need to create some hypotheses and then also test them to ensure that we will be able to prove the value of those use cases. We need to pick our metrics very wisely. You may end up creating a classification model or a regression model, and for those type of models, you always have different types of metrics. But how do they translate into a value? That's something that needs to be examined. An example of the project that we're working right now is the revenue growth management that we're working, and is partially funded and granted by the Scale AI. And over there, we're building demand forecasting models that are at very different levels of granularity. So it starts at the country channel, and then it goes up to the SKU levels, so this very granular. And for some of them, we do have baselines, so we already have some processes that the business uses, and they use those processes to do expert judgment, to do the prediction. For some of them, we don't really have any of the metrics. So for those, we need to really identify the baseline and the benchmarks. And for the ones that we don't have an existing system that does a prediction, we identify the systems or the algorithms that they can act as a baseline. For instance, like maybe a dummy classifier or a linear model that could act like that. Once we have the baseline, the next step would be to quantify the uplift. Based on machine learning model that we do create, or the AI that we create, what is the exact uplift? But what is really good enough? How do we know that we have already a good model that we could leverage? Can we define a minimum viable model that is good enough in cases, and then we can start to have value, to gain value just out of it? For that, there are frameworks. That's one is the value-added framework, so either for prediction or for forecasting that you have the forecast value added. We want to ensure that whatever we build, it's going to bring the business value and can be aligned with the business objective. I give you an example of comparing two different models. Let's say that you have an imbalanced data set, and then you're trying to build a classification model, and then the metric that you're using is going to be, let's say, not accuracy, but something like the FBETL score or the ROC-AUC. In that case, do you think that 40% F1 score is actually good? Is it actually enough to be used in any type of setting? And compare this model with another model that, let's say, a regression model that you're having 85% of accuracy. Sometimes, because of the complexity of the problem and the data that you have, you may end up having a lot lower accuracies or the performance metric that you're looking for, but then the value that this is going to bring is going to be a lot higher. So it's important to really focus on the value that the model is going to bring and how it can contribute to your business objectives. And a prediction, either a number or a variable, a class, is not going to be sufficient to bring any value by itself. What we want to do is to really use it in decision-making on an existing process, to integrate it, implement it into the business so that we can gain value out of it. And that should be through a co-intelligence, because machine learns from the data and learns from us, but we also learn from machine. We need to implement co-intelligence so we could achieve interesting results as the whole process, and then we start to trust the system a lot more, and then to be able to optimize existing business objectives. Optimization is really key, because if you just have a number or just a category, it's not going to be sufficient to make a business decision. One of the examples that we do is to use, and we're working on, to use demand forecasting to optimize markdowns or the order fulfillment. And then the aspect of the prescription shouldn't be neglected. There are cases that we struggle, let's say, between the stores or between products. We want to be able to find out what are the issues out there and what are the treatments that we could use to enhance the sales or the performance of specific type of products. A combination of these that is going to bring capabilities to the business so that you can align it with your business objectives is going to bring value. Not just a prediction model that provides a prediction, or not just a generative model that generates just something. But who should be part of the AI product team that actually builds these type of things? We said there is a hype and the buzz. No one wants to be left out. And there are always those friends that they have ideas and they think that they know a lot about AI because they're using ChatGPT, let's say. But who should be in your team? How should you be creating a team that is curious, has a research mindset, and can achieve things, can actually implement things? Sometimes clicker doesn't work. The key thing is to cultivate an innovation mindset and having an AI product management in place. At ALDO, we have product groups that we work with business units, and each of these product groups, they have a product manager from the business unit itself that help to identify the best possible solutions for real business problems. We also need to foster an innovation culture that is going to give us opportunities for experimentation, research. At times, we have ideas that we may apply and it doesn't work, but we need to embrace the vulnerability. We need to ensure that not everything is going to be actually working. It's also important to have a product leader that will be able to connect between the business and the technicalities, both sides, to be able to create a mindset that embraces research, but also uses it such that brings business values through product management. We want to also avoid feature teams. We don't want to pose just a couple of features to a product team to just implement some of the features. Instead, because of the data itself, we need to keep it flexible, but also time-boxed, such that they can research and find out the best possible solutions to the existing problems. We want as well avoid rigid agile practices. Many of us may come from software engineering and agile practices, but the data itself is going to make things a lot more complicated because the data is going to change and reproducibility of the result is going to change and it's going to be a lot more complicated than just mocking the data. From the technology perspective, it's the best possible thing is to leverage open source. There are so many great libraries and frameworks out there. We're using PyTorch or the scikit-learn, the pandas and such. And then run it on an existing cloud environment and manage services. You don't want to start to build your own clusters from the scratch. From the generative AI perspective, we're using OpenAI stack. So recently, we've been using OpenAI assistants that simplifies creation of the generative AI applications. We have created generative AI applications for consumers that we're working right now. So for instance, we're generating all the product descriptions, and we do SEO, the search engine optimization with generative AI, with LLMs. We also work on creation of context-aware and natural language-enabled search. That's something that we work on. And finally, we have created our own generative AI application for employees that's called ALDO. So it has the guardrails and it has all the prompt engineering to help our own employees. We want to use existing libraries. We're not building everything from the scratch. We're using the existing libraries and the frameworks. And this will help us to enhance scalability. And also, it will reduce the initial cost. What would be enough technology should be based on a machine learning operations or MLOps maturity model. We don't need to build everything from the get-go. Depending on how many models that we create and we put in production, we will mature our machine learning operations practices. So the first thing is that you should have an initial environment for experimentation. And by adding more models, you try to make it more repeatable, reproducible, using experimentation management type of techniques. And then you get into reliable and scalable techniques when you have a lot more models to manage. Doing all of that, we want to embrace an agile and ethical data and AI. We implement our own data and AI governance strategy. We are also working on a literacy program to ensure that we onboard everyone that will contribute to creation of these AIs and management of them. While doing so, we ensure that we strive to use interpretable and explainable AI in cases that we definitely need that. And also, we examine the scenarios that accuracy may have a penalty with explainability. So depending on the type of use case, you can define if you want to have a more explainable model against a more accurate model or vice versa. But that's an informed decision that needs to be made. While doing all of that and ensuring that everything that we do is going to be based on data, we need to be aware of the flywheel effect or the feedback loop that we need to establish. Unfortunately, bad data is going to lead to a bad model, and a bad model is going to lead to a bad product. Therefore, you will not be gaining any good value out of it. This is called a vicious data cycle. We want to break that, and we want to get to the point doing some of these quick wins and making trust, improving the quality of the data, which can lead to better models, and then finally better products, and then the higher value. Once you gain higher value from existing models, once you provide insights, then you will be able to have more of the investments on improving the quality of the data. Otherwise, no one is just going to improve the quality of the data because of just doing data quality management. Thank you very much. Let's keep the conversation going. And ChatGPT is not your AI strategy. So you need to really have one. Thank you.